Hi, Nigel Costley. Welcome to 10 by 6.
Hello there. Yes, nice to be on.
Absolute pleasure to have you, Nigel. Thank you. And obviously, with the Tolpuddle Festival being online this year because of obviously all the COVID restrictions, it'd be great for you just to talk us through the event. But firstly, can you just give us a brief outline of what the Tolpuddle Festival represents and why we have it?
Well, it's such an important part of trade union history, but here in rural Dorset, it's often surprising that the trade union movement celebrates such a key episode in the development of rights for working people happened amongst farm workers from Tolpuddle. But yes, in the 1830s, following some fairly violent rebellions, the the farm workers tried to protect themselves by forming what was a lawful trade union, and it sent the local employers and landowners into panic. And so we have the correspondence between the local squire and the Home Secretary, where they plotted to try and find a way of arresting the leaders of the fledgling union by charging them with taking a secret oath. And that is what they were arrested, sentenced for, and they were given the maximum sentence of 7 years transportation into the slavery colonies of Australia. But that would have been, for most, a life sentence because few people who were transported ever managed to get the fare back home. So they would have expected never to see their families again. Their families were left without any support in absolute destitution. And what we remember their sacrifice, but we celebrate the protest that then followed, that swept across Britain with protest meetings in many parts of the country, Huddersfield, Cheltenham, as well as lots going on in London. The unions knew that this was a challenge they had to face, and it was an outrageous injustice done to ordinary farm workers. So they organised a petition, the biggest of which, it's a record petition until only recently under Brexit has been beaten, which is astonishing given that they didn't have Twitter or Facebook or whatever to work on. And then this enormous march through London, which frightened the government. They thought a revolution was upon them. And they also argued legally, well, if it's unlawful for farm workers to take a secret oath, what about all the Freemasons and the Orange Order and members of the royal family who'd taken secret oaths? So the government backed down and not only gave them free pardons, but brought them home in triumph. And it's an episode that we remember for more than 100 years now. There's been events happening, but nowadays it's a really bright, breezy, friendly, wonderful atmosphere over the weekend with some cracking music, lots of political discussion as you would expect, and some great speeches. And we're going to try and reproduce that experience as best we can online over this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, personally, myself and my family have been attending since 2000, so over 20 years. But so how long have you been organising it, Nigel?
Probably since about then, actually. When I got the job, it was looking a bit jaded, to be fair. It was just a march and some speeches, and it needed a fresh feel. It was we didn't want a funeral march. We wanted a celebration, and I think that's what we have now. We have loads of people helping out. We're really proud of all our volunteers and supporters who make it such a great weekend.
They do, absolutely. It is an amazing, and when the sun's out, especially on the Sunday, everybody got in on the green and in front of the main stage after the march and before the march. It's I don't think it could be beaten, to be fair. It's an amazing experience. I mean, there's so many personal highlights for myself, but I remember that to the very first year in Billy Bragg, and our second daughter, but our third child was 6 weeks old, and we got a photograph of him holding her, the whole family. That was back in 2000. Going through to like the Men They Couldn't Hang and the Mekons, and obviously meeting Tony Benn. And I also remember as Tony Benn left the year that before he died, I sort of waved to him and he waved back. And I think possibly I was the last person, to wave to Tony as he left Tolpuddle. But it is for anybody who hasn't been, and obviously it's online this year, which we'll go into in a sec. But anyone who hasn't been, they really, really, really should put themselves out and go from next year, hopefully, when it all opens up.
Tony used to talk about Tolpuddle being the way he recharged his own batteries. And
Yes.
I think there is that sense for anyone on the left generally, but people of all political persuasions can come and participate and feel part of it. But for people who support the principles of trade unionism and social justice, it is an uplifting, inspiring, and I mean, what we can't really create online is that sense of camaraderie and meeting people, having a bit of an argument maybe over a way forward, but then having a pint and enjoying some great music and maybe even having a dance. But we'll give people a pretty good experience of that, we think, this year, because much of it, although we can't all be in Tolpuddle, we're going to film as much of it as we can live from Tolpuddle to give people that sense of that experience. So we have got a really good lineup, and we're trying to make the most of being online to get some international contributions, to get people who from around the country and around the world.
Yes, I've got there's a little bit here. So it's Friday the 16th to Sunday the 18th, which is the sort of standard fare now, isn't it? Because it's expanded outwards, where it used to be just a Saturday, for the last, was it 10 years or so, it's expanded right out to be a weekend event.
We've got a great launch event on Friday evening, jointly with the People's Assembly and the Campaign for Trade Union Freedom and the Institute of Employment Rights. And we think it summarizes Tolpuddle in an hour and a half. So it's a mixture of some fabulous protest songs done for the occasion from here and from the States, and some great speakers. So we think that will launch the weekend, and then I can see on the screen the Friday deep discussions. Got some really good speakers and some interesting contributions. Angela Rayner, who's now in charge of Labour's response to the future of work, will be talking about just that with some very interesting speakers to start the morning off. But climate change, food production, racism, well, I mean, it took about topical issues at the moment, and with some really good speakers.
Absolutely. And we're going on the march that I believe is being live screened outside of the estate for Richard Drax on Saturday. So that'll be excellent as well, because obviously there's lots of things going on in and around slavery justice and the demands that he hand over his plantations in Barbados to the Barbadian people.
And by doing it online like this,
yes.
because it's a happy coincidence, if you like, that we're doing this with them, Stand Up to Racism, but we can bring in speakers from not just around this country, but we can talk to people from Barbados who are organising a similar event to the Drax Hall in the centre of Barbados. So
absolutely,
this is all about solidarity with the people of Barbados. It's about, come on, Drax, hand over your states that you've just inherited that were built on the back of the horror of slavery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's great to have the events that are obviously central within Tolpuddle itself, and then outlaying events that can be screened live as well at the same time. It's sort of a bit like Live Aid in a way. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's brilliant.
And then on the Sunday, of course, we will try and reflect the traditional elements. So there will be a laying of wreaths, but again, online, we can do a bit more justice to James Hammett, who is the martyr that we lay wreaths on his grave. But there will be a moving tribute from his descendant, talking about how she first discovered being a relative, being descended to James Hammett, and what that meant as she discovered who he was and the story of the Tolpuddle martyrs. And then she will join us and a few others in actually laying a wreath. It's a moving part of the weekend normally, but I think it will be particularly, we will give that feeling online just ahead of a procession which we're restricting to sort of to represent Dorset workers through this pandemic. So we hope to fill the centre of Tolpuddle with banners from unions representing Dorset.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously, when it's a live event, pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, there's loads and loads of coaches that come from all over the country, from up north, from Wales, from London, etc. And there's that brilliant camaraderie of everybody coming together, and then a lot of people going on that procession right down past the grave.
It'll be a shame that we're not able to meet everyone. It's a great event and procession because it turns around and comes back on itself, which means you can basically meet everybody. So it's a wonderful and friendly march through the village.
Fantastic.
Next year, we hope that it'll be a really special occasion when we can get back together again. But in the meantime, I think we will do people justice. So people watching will get that flavour of Tolpuddle.
Wonderful. And just briefly, how can people access?
We're streaming it live on our tolpuddlemartyrs.org.uk website, also our Facebook group and a YouTube channel. I think we're encouraging other people on Facebook, particularly, press that share button. We're not charging anything. This is all free to view. So the more people who share and more people who watch it, the better. And I'm sure people will dip in and out. We will try and save the key elements on our YouTube channel as well as Facebook. So please, when you've got time, please join in.
Right, so we've got the links on our article on Dorset Eye. So if anybody's not sure or not clear, then they can easily just go there. And finally, you just said as well that a lot of the events will be recorded and put onto YouTube so people can access at a later date.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes, and we're trying to do it in chunks so that people can go back over Facebook and watch it again if they want to see particular parts or they missed things. So and join in through the comments on Facebook. We want to be able to people to participate. Sorry, my phone is busy time at the moment.
Of course it is, not a problem. And we won't keep you any longer. It's so great to have you on, Nigel, and thank you so much. And hope everything goes well this weekend. And we'll be waving you from the Drax estate. You take care. We'll speak very soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.